Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gollum's Gamers and to another edition of MESBG Monthly, which is a series where myself and Ali, who will be joining me today, aim to keep you all updated on all things MESBG from the previous and upcoming month. Now, part of this, we'll be discussing the new reveals. We all love the Plastic Riders of Rohan. They look amazing, but has the reveal of the new supplement left a sour taste in the mouths of some MESBG fans? What does this supplement mean for the game moving forward? Does Games Workshop hate competitive MESBG? Strong words, which we'll dive into a little bit later on. Now, as always, though, you can find us on Instagram and Spotify by following the links in the description down below. You can also find the link to our Patreon as well if you'd like to consider supporting the channel. You can get some Gollum's Gamers branded dice and widgets, early access to our videos, and all that sort of stuff if you are interested. And also remember to subscribe to us here on YouTube. So here we go, MESBG Monthly coming up next on the Gollum's Gamers.
Oh.
Sam, you're literally Frodo right now.
He's the hero.
So we will kick things off by looking at the GBHL 100 from last month. There was only one last month, which was the Grey Havens, held up in Preston. And in first place, we have Tom McConnell from the Pigmar crew in the first place spot with Usurpers of Edoras, which we saw last month as well, win the only GBHL 100 from last month as well, the Grand Prix. So more on that in just a moment, but Usurpers doing very, very well at the moment indeed. In second place, we have Mr. David Farmer, of course, back once again, second place with the Shadows of Angmarlo. A little bit of a unique list there for him, which we'll come to as well. And in third place, the Pigmar crew, running it up this month. It's Mark O'Brien with Army of Khandoom, which Ali is very happy to see back on the GBHL 100 podium. I said back because it was on it a few months ago. So we will touch on that more as well. But first of all, Usurpers. Now, unfortunately, Tom and the Pigmar crew, we won't be spending too long on this as we went very in-depth on Usurpers of Edoras last month. So if you want some in-depth Usurpers analysis, you can go and check that video because Farmer won the GP last month at 650 points. So the Grey Havens was at 625 points. So the only difference between the lists is that Tom's has more models actually, even though it's 25 points fewer. I think he's got 4 more models, but he's got like 3 or 4 less Crabane. I think Farmer had 8 and he's got 5, or he might have had 9 or something. But yeah, fewer Crabane, less birds, few more models, but they're essentially the same list. So if you want more in-depth stuff on Usurpers, go and check out the previous MESBG monthly. But Ali, any brief thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, it is kind of what the default Usurpers has become. You've got Wolf, which, well, most people still don't actually rate high enough. He does stuff in the list that nothing else can do.
We're slowly bringing around the community, perception, I think.
Slightly, and then, it's probably a few less Crabane than we've seen recently.
But for sure.
Near 50 models.
In white hand, at 625.
And he's still got 5 Crabane, so it's not like...
It's still really good. Yeah, you've got Wolf. The list still does the same thing. So at this 600, I wonder at 600, I mean, do you just keep dropping Crabane and keep the model count high? But it seems like between 600 and 650 is just like really good for it. Like it's 100s in, 2 months in a row. So it's obviously really good at those points levels.
I think the thing with Usurpers is you can kind of do it at most points levels.
Just add more of the same sort of thing.
Because it's really flexible, because it's got so many cheap troops and cheap heroes and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to just adjust warband.
Yeah. Will it be getting even better? Potentially very soon. Well, we shall come on to that a little bit later in news from the mark. But we'll move on from Usurpers. Very well done to Tom O'Connell on his second 100 win, I believe. So very, very well done indeed. We have Farmer's List next up, the Shadows of Angmar. So for the Spotify listener, it's 32 models. It's Gullivar, a Angmar Orc captain, and 2 Barrow Whites as well in there. So only 32 models, not the highest, but obviously you've got Gullivar at low points. And I think it's quite interesting because going into the new edition, I think people were a little bit worried about Gullivar and thinking part of what made him so strong was that you had the Witch King there as well, or a Wraith, and pairing the two with Compel and stuff was just always super, super strong. So it was like, how is he going to fare without having a Wraith there? But he's podiumed 2 100s now with Farmer and Sam. I'm not sure how well it's doing outside of that, like at 90s and things, but like he's still clearly super, super good, and not having the magic there to pair with him. Obviously, you've got the magic from the Barrow Whites, but it's obviously not quite the same in that sense. But it obviously still works very well. But what do you think?
I mean, you still it's got 4 Spectres in this list, so you are still able to pull people out pretty reliably, especially. But no, it's kind of it's old Angmar without the Witch King. Is sort of how it So you got the double Barrow White, so you can shut down the big heroes and stuff like that. I think what's important for this is at 625 points, there isn't actually going to be that much which can take out Gulliver.
Yeah.
And if they do have a threat that could take out Gulliver, the Barrow Whites between them can probably shut that threat down. They're unlikely to have two that will do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, its biggest weakness is it is semi-low model count for an army, which is
at
just
this points level. Yeah, I guess at 700, although no, because the Barrow Whites are minor heroes. I mean, he's got some more warband space, does he, in the captain? I think he's got 1 spare space in the top 2 warbands, and then he's got the full one from the other Barrow Whites. What, he could get 40 models?
Gulliver, he's only got 11.
Oh, he's a hero of valor, isn't he? Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, you could get 40 models or something, which is a little bit nicer.
You got a couple of the werewolves in there as well, so you actually have secondary, pretty scary, hard hitting models. And he's paid for 4 of those, I guess. So to be fair, he could get it higher model count if he really wanted. So having 4 is actually really good with 4 Spectres as well. Yeah, so there is a lot of tech in there. Also, actually, I think Gulliver's a hero of legend in this list. By the way.
Oh, is he? As I said it, I was like, is he hero of legend? I like that they've done that with lots of heroes. I don't think they did that much last edition. Even if there was a profile included in a legendary legion, I don't think they really did that. So
one of the main things that does sort of help this list out is because it would be really weak to shooting, but because it does have the stalk on for everyone.
That is really good.
It doesn't guarantee that
nothing is guaranteed.
On the right board and with terrain and stuff like that does make it a lot more difficult to sort of deal with. And then it's easy to forget that it does have extra special rules. So it's if you kill an enemy hero in combat, you do get the -1 penalty to courage tests. That are required to take. So it's nice. There are little bits which won't come up all the time, but can help and stack and stuff like that.
Yes.
But yeah,
which are nice.
It is mainly Gulliver vehicle and the Barrow Whites just to shut them down, and then the rest of the stuff is I'm here for objectives. Pretty much. Yeah, the werewolves are really good. So, yes, really, really well done to Farmer. We may be coming back to this list somewhat a little bit later on. But moving on to Army of Khan Doom. Mark O'Brien in 3rd place. Very, very well done to him. Now, it's a fairly similar list to the one we saw. Was it 650 or was it 600, the other list? It was one of the two, but this is at 625, so for the Spotify listener. It is led by Aldrak, of course. He has 2 captains as well. He has one of Khan Doom and 1 Orc captain, so he's paid the extra points. Then he has 2 Hill Trolls in there as well, a smattering of Orcs, 2 Wild Riders as well, but he's really paid for the 2 Hill Trolls along with Aldrak. 40 models, which is nice as well at those points. So what do you think on this one? It's Orc spam, which I know is what you like. Wow. I mean, I don't actually own the Orcs yet, but so when I was going to
for this list,
this was basically what I was going to take, or I was hoping to take if I could get the models in time. We have talked about it before, but with Aldrak and 2 Hill Trolls, which are incredibly reliable, because you've got the 6-inch banner and then the Hill Trolls get the extra reroll. Again, it's very hard for people to deal with those 3 threats. On their own, one can be shut down. There's very few lists that will be able to shut down all 3 of them.
And also, Ali likes a list which is capable of coming 3rd. It could just get into 3rd, could sneak in, but he's looking to try and win with it so we can come on platforms like this and, gloat about it. Isn't that right?
If anything, based on how you absolutely wrote off this list and you're like, oh, it must be a freak event when it first podiumed. The fact that another...
I stand by my previous statements.
Like, so it's not. I've got two different people who have podiums.
You clearly need to win with it, to really shut me down, don't you? So
Well, no, I just mean like no. To be fair, Condom is one of those lists which one is really weird because the best way to run it is not having actually Condom models who aren't called Aldrak or like
yes,
maybe the Captain Condom is quite solid as well.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's high, at this point it's high model count. You can get the threats which other armies can't get. You've got mobility and wild riders, and yeah, it's just generally really solid. We've got a couple of
Maybe coming to a first place GBHL 100 podium soon? Question mark, Ali? Do you have an event in mind for it? No?
Well, this was the event I had in mind for before I could go. But,
before you went away. Shame.
Yeah.
Oh well. There's always more events. Okay, well, I think we will leave it there for Army of Khandoom. Obviously, very, very well done to the Pigmar boys and Mr. Farmer at the Grey Havens. So we shall move on now to News from the Mark, the segment where we take a look at the individual and team rankings in the GBHL, as well as discuss any recent news items from across MESBG. Spoiler alert, this month there was quite a lot for once, which is nice. So, having a look here, we have the individual team rankings this month, because obviously now we've had it sort of flesh out a little bit, and I've updated the table here as well. So now moving forward, we'll be looking at everyone's scores as well, so you can see everyone's top 5 scores, which is what make up the position where you are in the league. So we can actually see people's scores now, which I think is nice to see. So in the top spot we have the arch nemesis of the Gollum's gamers, Jamie Wiggins, leading the GBHL. That is awful to see, I must say, but very, very well done to Jamie for a good start to the year. In second place, hot on his heels, we have Vince Wong holding it down for the Gollum's gamers. He's had a very, very good start to the year. He's in second place, so very, very well done to Vince. In third place, Thomas Wag, who I believe came top 10 last year. Did he come top 10?
Yeah, I think he was 10. I may be wrong though.
Somewhere around that region, with a good start to the year as well in third place. Now, what I found especially interesting about this is that everyone has 5 scores, apart from one player, which is David Farmer, of course. So he is currently 6th for the Any Heroics crew, but as you can see there, for the YouTube viewers, there is no score for his 5th score. So as soon as he gets a score of like 60 or something, he would immediately jump up to first place. So I doubt it will be 60, judging by his first 4 scores. That's a pretty
60. I think it's only like 50.
Yeah, but it's a pretty good first 4 scores, to say the least. That is only 4 tournaments this year, so he's going to jump up into first, and he might stay there for the whole year. Who knows? But yeah, any thoughts on the individual rankings to kick things off?
I mean, they're starting to take shape. Like, you got some of the people.
Adam Bird was top 10, I think, last year, was he?
Yeah.
Or around there?
I don't think he was, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does get it this year. Like, you're starting to see some of the names coming in who are going to be competing for at least those Masters places.
Now, I think he is actually higher as well because he won a 90, but the rankings weren't updated, so I didn't update them myself. But I think he's higher actually as well.
But yeah, no. So it's starting to take shape of who may be like in and around. But there's obviously you're going to have quite a few people who aren't on this list. So you have Tom McConnell, obviously he's just one.
Yes.
Probably see him come in at some point. Chris Ryder's just about hanging on still by doing his 10 events.
With his 10 events. Love it, Chris. Yes.
Although he has actually got a couple of like solid scores. So
I know. He won a 90 the other day.
If he does another 10, he may hang in.
You never know. Yes. But I guess, just to explain kind of for anyone that isn't aware, so it's what we mean kind of when we say about, starting to take shape. So obviously as lots of kind of the players that tend to be at the higher end of the rankings actually go to more tournaments and get more good scores, they'll then start to move up. But until then, they're sort of much lower down because, as you can see with Farmer, if he didn't have that 4th score, for example, like he wouldn't be where he is now because he's missing 2 scores. So there's lots of good players that just don't have those 5 scores yet, which are much lower down. So as the months go on, over the next kind of 2 or 3 months, we should really see things start to shape out somewhat. So yeah, okay, we shall leave it there for the individual rankings. I'm getting my words mixed up here. And move on to the new team rankings. So this is the first month we're seeing it. The 2026 rankings, there have been some changes to how this works. So previously we saw it on the same slide with the individual rankings. This is how we'll be seeing it moving forward. Nice new graphic here, which I think is nice. So for the GBHL, they had a change where there are now these 3 divisions for the team rankings. So there's the Legend division, which are the top 12 teams. There's 12 teams in each division, so the top 12 teams, and it was based on kind of how teams had performed previously. Was it only based off of last year, or do you know if it was
also if
historically?
If there were players who changed or joined or left teams,
Oh yeah,
what their scores were last year were also taken into account. So say you just suddenly got 2 players who scored really highly last year.
That was taken into account.
Yeah, that was.
It was. Okay, sure. Yeah. So just try and obviously make them sort of as fair and kind of having teams where they're meant to be somewhat. So that's the Legend division. Then we have the Valor division, which there's 12 teams in that as well. And then every other team is in the Fortitude division. I think there's like maybe 20 or 30 or something. Roughly, I did have a look. So essentially, at the end of the year, the bottom, is it 3 teams or 2 teams?
Bottom 3, I believe.
Bottom 3 and top 3, I think.
I'd have to double check.
Something like that. But anyway, teams will move up and teams will move down. So the bottom ones in Legend will move down to Valor. The top ones in Valor will move up to Legend. And the same at the bottom of Valor and the top of Fortitude. So for reasons of seeing everything on the screen, I haven't included all 12 teams for Valor and then all the teams in Fortitude, obviously. So we've got the top 6 for Valor and Fortitude in there. So we can keep a track of kind of as teams move around, who's looking to move up as we get towards the end of the year. So yeah, hopefully this is fine for everyone. I think it's quite good. One thing I thought I would note is that I've changed some of the team names on here. The reason being is that some names are ridiculously long. And if you want your whole team name on the graphic, then don't make it so absurdly long and I'll fit it in there. So I've changed some names, so apologies in advance. But I guess we should actually have a look at the rankings. So in the Legend division, in the first place spot, it's Team Pigmar, as we just saw. We had Tom and Mark at the Grey Havens doing very well. They've been to 40 events.
Yeah.
Are they trying to do like a mimic of the Gollum's Gamers in 2023? This is, wow, unheard of levels of event attendance here.
I don't think Chris Ryder's even on our team.
He's not. Yeah, well, imagine if he was. Jesus. So Team Pigmar, though, doing very, very well to start off the year with, the top spot there. We're in second place. We're sort of, I don't know, this is kind of like a thing now, right? We're just like in second all the time. I don't know why. Supposedly. We've only been to 23 events, so maybe we need to get some more tournaments.
I think Vince has done half of those.
Yes. So as soon as some other players start going, hopefully we will jump the Pigmar boys, but obviously very, very well done to them. But we're in second. We're above any heroics, though. That's all that matters. Our nemesis from last year, who pulled the rug from under our feet at the end of last year, but they are in third place to round off the podium spots. So there's some teams in there that you may not have seen from the top 10 of like last year. Like I don't think Oliphant and Castle were in the top 10 much last year, but they're going to be in this Legend division. So you can't move up and down divisions throughout the year. Maybe they should do like how they do the summer transfer window. They should do that for the teams where you go up and down midway through. That'd be interesting.
I feel like it's going to be quite complicated.
I think it'd be good though. Drama. That's what we want in News from the Mark.
Channel David Clubley, but we'll see how it goes year one.
Yeah. And then, so I guess moving on to the Valor division, one thing that I thought was quite interesting here, so the top team here, Khazad Brum, they have a score of 790 so far, and that would put them in like 7th place in the Legend division. So obviously it's quite early on, scores haven't rounded out yet, but like some of these teams, I guess, are showing early on in the year that maybe they belong in the next division up, right?
It's one of those ones where they will get promoted and the teams from the upper division, if they don't perform, will get demoted. So
can they hold out for the remainder of the year? There's a lot of season left to go. So there we go. But we'll see teams obviously in the top 6 move up and down potentially. But obviously everyone in the Legend division will be staying there for the year because we can see all 12 of them. So any other thoughts on the team rankings?
It'd be cool to see it actually like generally mention the difference between divisions and how many points the teams are scoring.
Yes. Which we'll see as obviously the year goes on. I guess you would think, towards the end of the year, the bottom teams in Legend should have roughly the same scores as the top teams in Valor, for example, and so on. But will it shake out that way? I don't know. Okay, so we'll leave it there for the team rankings, and we shall move on to the spicy news that everyone was here for. The reveals. What was the name of the US tournament that was on? That's escaping me. Adepticon, that was it. What is that, like a 40k tournament, or is it?
It's a big convention.
Convention.
Like 40k AOS.
So they have Middle Earth at the convention in the US, but they don't at conventions over here?
Well, what convention over here does all of them?
Well, isn't there like a convention for Warhammer and stuff over here? No?
Not really.
The Games Workshop does? Is there not? Okay. I'm thinking of the the London GT, but that's not a Games Workshop one.
No.
Why don't they do one over here? Because obviously it's from the UK. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do games there, whatever they used to call it, or what they did change it to.
Right. It's just interesting.
No, there is a thing in America. It's sort of
everything's bigger.
It's such a big place. I think having a sort of
obviously you get loads of. Yeah. Oh, I see, like one place for everyone to go to. Yeah. I see. Right.
Because I think they do Adepticon, and then there's Nova, and then I can't remember.
Oh yeah, Nova.
There is one of them. It's like the one that's in I can't forgotten it. Is it LVO?
Oh, NVO. LVO? Las Vegas Open. LVO. Yeah, I think Las Vegas Open.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah.
Yes. Cool. All your V's and your O's. Yes, sure. So anyway, there was big reveals. We found out sort of that MESBG was being added to the live stream. We didn't know if there was much that was going to be added or what it was going to be. Everyone was like, well, if it was such a last minute ad, there's no way there can be anything that's like that good. And there was lots of rumblings in the community over what they might reveal. I was ready, folks, to do an emergency podcast before work. I was going to wake up like super early, do an emergency pod if there was like a new supplement reveal or something, which there was, but there wasn't at the same time, which we'll come on to. But no emergency pod. But we did have something which obviously everyone was super excited for. New Riders of Rohan, which is very interesting. What does this mean exactly and everything? We'll come on to. But Ali, your thoughts on the models themselves?
I mean, they look nice. They now actually match.
They're shiny.
The new infantry, Rohan
yes.
infantry. GW is still persisting with having very small ankles attached to bases at one point. So
yes.
we still have
more dynamic, I suppose. Yes. Although hopefully
they do look cool, otherwise you're gonna just have
Is the plastic somewhat different that they use in the older models compared to the newer ones, or is it exactly the same? I think it's. I
wouldn't be surprised if they slightly change recipe or stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because I think the older ones, I don't know, I envision they're sort of slightly softer. I don't know what it is. Where the newer ones, I think are like crisper. Like I don't know, maybe they're slightly stronger.
They may be using a slightly harder plastic than they used to.
Yeah, for the newer ones. So maybe that won't be as much of a problem. Yeah.
No, they look nice. I'll be interested to see what the kit actually looks like and how many variation and how much of a pain in the ass these may be to glue together.
Oh yes, after the whole Wildmen saga that we saw, but that was a huge problem. You can use whichever of the riders on whichever of the horses, which was cool. So I painted up lots of the new Rohan infantry. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get some of these. It's quite interesting though. Like Rohan is kind of a point at the moment where they're not really that good, and there's not really many people playing them. So it's interesting that they're getting lots of releases. Obviously, it ties in with the film. Yes, at the moment. But obviously, people have been wanting these for a very long time. Now, it sort of reopens the conversation that we've had before, but obviously in the wider community as well, about these new plastic models that we've had, new plastic troop kits as well. Like, is this the start of them refreshing everything, or is it just that these were tied to the War of the Rohirrim film? We just happened to be getting it a very long time after the film came out. I think it's more to do with that rather than them refreshing everything. I hope that would be what they're doing, but I'm not so sure. What do you think?
I think they're refreshing some things. So I think film core units will get refresh of. So it's like so you may get new
Mordor Orcs really need it.
yeah, new Mordor Orcs, new Minister of Warriors. But I don't think you'd get new Dwarf Warriors or new
So
like
film stuff.
elves. Yeah, yeah. So it's stuff which would possibly be in a starter box.
Yeah,
I
in
think
a
is the
release.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would argue that is not them like making an effort to update things that they really feel need it, because otherwise they could do like Last Alliance. It's more like if there's an opportunity to market this for a big new release for the new edition or something, then we'll do it. But like, I don't think we'll be seeing Minas
You
Tirith's.
won't get Last Alliance, considering like the first box, like Fellowship of the Ring was Last Alliance. So,
But I think it just, I think what you said about the films, like very iconic sort of troops and stuff. I'm not sure the Last Alliance, because it played such a small part, at the start of the first film.
I'd put it at like only a 10% chance.
Yeah. But like much more likely that if they are going to do something, it will be like Minas Tirith or something,
Whereas Minister of Orcs, I would be like, that's probably at the moment like a 50-50 kind of thing.
If they're going to do it at all, that is, which they might not. It might only be for the new edition. They might not sort of, let's say the next supplement is like a Minas Tirith one. That doesn't mean they're going to come out with new Minas Tirith warriors. Like, I don't think it's going to be that frequent. So that's why I don't think they're sort of making an effort to refresh lots of things. I think it's only for like a super big release like the new edition or something like that.
Well, I was saying that I know not every release we've had recently, nearly all of them are in plastic now.
Yeah. Oh yes, which I saw sort of people saying online. Yeah, is like they're really moving away from Forge World by the looks of it.
So other than I think the catapult troll, I can't.
Yeah, I think there was the War Drakes as well, but like I think some of this stuff is like has fallen over from last edition. Yeah, so we'll see, I guess, whether... I don't actually mind Forge World resin. I think it's quite nice, but plastic is obviously just like the best of everything, and it is super nice. So, but yeah, these are the riders. They're super, super nice, and I might get some at some point, but I hate painting Cav. It's why I've never painted my Riv Knights, but maybe at some point I will do some of these. We'll move on to have a look at the captains. Little bit of an interesting sort of pick here. I mean, the models are nice, sure. I think they're cool. But I didn't really see this one coming. I guess it's a spillover from the release of the new edition, so they wanted to have these to pair with your new riders and your infantry as well. So it's fair enough. It makes sense from that angle, but like I don't think there were many people sort of asking for these as a release to be done separately. So I doubt it is that, right?
I actually quite like this release because it does infer that armies that don't have banners at the moment may actually get them in the future.
Do you think that's what it is?
Because I actually do think it's semi-likely that a lot of, again, it'll be focusing mainly on the major factions, will get a new plastic command box.
I don't see that happening. I think this is surely only to do with the film. They are not going to sell many of these, surely.
I think they'll sell quite a few more than you think.
I don't see it. I don't think there's many
people. They could also lean back into doing Battle Force kind of style boxes. So you could then get the Warriors, the Rohan.
Yeah, I do think those boxes were super, super good. It's now just really funny that when they sell them on the website, they don't fit in anywhere in like the faction naming criteria that they still have on the website, because that doesn't relate to the actual edition at the moment. So maybe they would refresh that, and include something like this. That would be something that I would be all for. I think that was really good. I'm sure that the battle boxes, they sort of brought some newer people to the game. Like, I think that was quite a good starter way to sort of, get into it. It was slightly cheaper as well, which is very rare from Games Workshop. So
I think it's also hard to underestimate how many people will buy plastic kits to convert or use parts and stuff. Or quite a lot of people do that. Yeah. And I mean, the Rohan one is probably the less useful one, but You've now
Yeah,
got
you.
updated Rohan heroes to go with the infantry.
Yeah,
The obviously the Wildman one, you get the Oathmaker in it now because the original Oathmaker kit was discontinued,
yeah,
and you've now got a command for what is the signature army of this edition for Evil, I guess.
yeah. I guess. Well, yeah, Wild Men are doing super, super well in two very, well performing lists. So, yes, that's what I was alluding to earlier. Now they're going to get a banner. Are we going to see that included in both White Hand, where I don't think it makes that much difference because you can take Orcs with banner, and Usurpers? Are we going to see Usurpers with a banner now?
Maybe I actually don't think it'll make a huge difference to them doing better or worse. Because
It definitely makes a difference, though.
well, yeah, but also if you take the banner, you are 5 models less.
Sure.
Roughly. So it's not like
Or one Crabane.
yeah, well, one and a little bit.
Sure, and a model, fine, yeah.
But like those things do make a difference, and it is a horde army, and banners, while still useful for the VPs and that, aren't always like as useful for horde armies. But
Yeah.
I mean, it gives them an extra option, so it's not I'm not
VPs,
saying it makes them
but
worse, but
no,
I don't
it's
think
nice
it
to
will
have.
suddenly
I don't think
make
it's going to
them-
make them way, way better, but like you could have a list like Usurpers, which is already super good. It could go into a particular matchup where, it's down on VPs straight away, where now it might not be if you were to take the banner, for example. Like, that does make it slightly better.
A hot take, the Warhorn may actually be more useful.
Oh, Jesus Christ. He's really fishing for it here.
But no, but as in like because it's an army, so not the one where you can take the Oathmaker, obviously, but it's an army which is got mid-level courage at best. So actually having a Warhorn to keep your heroes around, to keep your troops around, is actually sometimes more valuable.
God, the new tech, hey, Jesus. But yeah, I wonder whether they will add them both into Usurpers. Like, they could just go, no, we're not adding the banner to Usurpers, because they're going to have to do it in the FAQ, so they'll have to be thinking about that anyway. But surely they haven't released the model to only add it into White Hand. Like, that would feel a bit odd. So anyway, those are the commanders. They're nice models. I personally won't be getting any, but I'm sure there's lots of people that will be. And we shall move on to having a look at the supplement, the quote-unquote supplement here. Now, for the YouTube audience, I've included here some screenshots of the two other supplements we've had as well, the Treachery of Gollum and the War of the Rohirrim one, or the Journey books. Are they called? Are they called something like that? Journey books, yeah. We have a new one, the Burning of the Westfold. So at the moment, I sort of feel like Games Workshop are catering very heavily to one side of the game and somewhat ignoring the other. Is kind of how I feel about it personally. Like, these Journey books, as a competitive player, someone who enjoys that side of the game, although my results don't always show it, these books mean nothing to me, I'm afraid. Like, I like that Games Workshop is still supporting the game. I do like that. There'll be lots of people that will really like these books. Great for you guys. Like, there's a big proportion of the community that will really like these. That's fine. But there's also a fairly large proportion, I think, as well, which play the game and go to tournaments and stuff and like aren't huge into the hobby side, and they will get very little use out of these books. Personally, I will get zero use out of these books. So I like that the game's being supported, but at the moment it seems like there's only sort of the more hobby side of things which are actually getting releases with these supplements, where the supplements last edition I think were much, much better, because sure, they were bigger and obviously take more time to develop and everything. These are much smaller, so they can be released much quicker. We've had one for like the last 3 months released or revealed, like the last 3 months in a row, going back to last year. But these ones don't cater to both sides, where the previous supplements that we got, there was stuff in there for everyone. There was new Legendary Legions, there was new profiles, but there was also the hobby stuff as well, the scenarios, the all of the other stuff as well that they had in there. So I think they should go back to doing ones like that, but just less frequently. I think that would cater to both sides of the community. That's my view on things. What do you think?
So, I mean, it is true. As competitive players, we've been underserved for the last sort of.
That's a good way to put it. There you go.
Although I think I know the reason, and it's kind of more obvious. So, if you think of each of these supplements, War of the Rohirrim one slightly to a side, it is 50% of what you would have got in the old like the releases we were getting last edition.
Yeah.
So we've gotten the models, and then we get. To be fair, actually, in these books, I don't own anyone, but I was looking.
There you go. Exactly.
They've got some really good terrain building guides and stuff
Sure.
like that.
Yeah. Really cool.
And then you've got scenarios. What you're missing is new rules for those profiles, which especially the ones that we've just gotten models for.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is where War of the Rohirrim's messed stuff up. So I think all of these books was originally going to have the profiles, the models, the scenarios, and then like the terrain stuff. And then you go, well, actually, like when Imrahil came out, that may have actually been a sort of fiefdoms release where they were going to have that, and then the new rules and profiles and stuff. And then when Bulk and the Old Joel came out, that could have been a source book, and then like profile rules.
Okay.
So
you're saying that stuff might have happened last edition, but now the War of the Rohirrim coming out.
And then I think War of the Rohirrim came out basically meant that we've already had all of the new profiles and all the new rules that possibly were going to be like released last edition.
Surely though, fine, okay.
Fast track, like.
Well, I do. That's it. Surely they had quite a lot of lead time for War of the Rohirrim to actually produce all of those models. There's no way they produced all those models in like 6 months. There's no way.
I'm not saying that they. Oh yeah, but
so what I'm saying is like it isn't. I don't think they would have had to have they had all this stuff planned for like a fiefdoms thing or a thing with Bolg, and then they had to like drop all that stuff because they had to do a new edition for the Rohirrim. So suddenly.
I think they did. I think
really?
They did. And I think it because bearing in mind Rohirrim also had a deadline for the film when it had to come out by for the rights purposes.
But I'm just thinking that they must have had quite a lot of lead time.
I don't
know about that.
So because it's they also getting the information out of them. There's quite a few bits which, like they were, like for example, Hera not having a horse, because they were strictly told that in the original script that she doesn't ride a horse.
Yeah. There was things like that with the Hobbit as well, wasn't there? Yeah.
And it's kind of like because GW is going to be way down the bottom of even like any of the merchandise, like licensing stuff that the film cares about. But so it's they're going, and then, but when that film gets announced, it's then going to be like, say, a year's worth of work to then sort of do the edition, do all of the profiles and stuff like that. And I think it's why also some of the armies feel like they've had more thought put into them than others, because the ones which have are probably more likely to get a release. Or like rules and update and release.
Well, you're saying fiefdoms, but fiefdoms haven't really had much of a.
I know, but just because an army's not like as strong as you think doesn't mean there's not a lot of thought that's gone into it. And also, there may have been elements where because Legacy got taken out, and that was a new thing that got forced upon them. So like, it's one of those.
I see the argument.
I think we're getting all of the releases we would have had if War of the Rohirrim never happened. But because War of the Rohirrim's happened, the rules have been taken out of here, and some of them would have been put in, probably not all, but into the new edition.
Okay. But sure, maybe. But I guess as I'm looking at these 3 supplements, right? These quote unquote supplements that we've had, right? We're over a year into the new edition now. I would hope that we start to see some releases that also cater to the other side of the community that have so far not had anything really from any of these 3 books. I think if you don't have much interest in the contents of these books, you wouldn't have liked any of all 3 of them. And I find myself in that camp. So for all 3 of these releases, very little interest to me. So I would hope moving forward that they start to like release some stuff that adds some things to the games, or changes certain rules or adds in new lists.
If there's a 2-year lead time, which is what they used to say back in the day for any GW release, so from when it first gets conceptualized to it actually hitting the shelves. And you're saying everything up until like the War of the Rohirrim release was there. So I would hope we would see something by the end of the year. Like,
so I'm actually going to go on record now. So I don't think we will get anything about a new supplement other than one of these journey books before the end of 2026. We won't.
I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't until the new year. But in my head, like
is that a good...
goes up to the end of the year. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying
I don't think that's very good. Like, sure, like I understand that there'll be lots of people saying, "Oh, but we're getting new things." Like, can't you just be happy with that? But like, I think going 2 years into the new edition without a certain side of the community getting any releases that sort of
6 months after we got the
cater to them. Fair enough, fine. But like, that was just to add in everything that was already missing.
Yeah, and then we get FAQs. Like, so the next FAQ may actually be more significant.
I'm not sure that's them releasing content though. That you get what I mean. Like, supplements were a release. It does change things, but they were doing that anyway, along with releasing supplements. Like, like before they would release these supplements, it was like a big event. They would add in new lists, new profiles. It would really like change up the game. It was a big deal. Where that is now just been removed, and like to just do that for years. That side of the community that really values that stuff. That's not for me to work out, Ali. I'm just.
but what I mean is, we've already got all the lists.
No, there's definitely lists that you can do. Definitely.
But we
need to do a brainstorming.
That's the difference between last edition and this edition. Last edition, it was introducing legendary legions.
Yeah.
This edition is legendary legions.
But they could definitely add in other lists, though. They could add in other lists that aren't already there. What
lists come to mind?
I don't know. I don't know. I need to think about it.
They may have actually
there'll be stuff in the lore, like not necessarily things that happened in the films, but there'll be places that they can go, like with
looking for obscure things. Basically.
Sure, yeah. I'm not saying that like there's tons of stuff out there. There might be. I don't know if there's people that are more in tune with the lore and everything. Let me know. But like Defense of the North, for example, like a lot of that stuff wasn't stuff that I ever really knew much about before, and like there was loads of lists that they added in there. So I
those lists now.
Yeah, sure, but there must be more. It's fucking Tolkien, Ali. There's loads.
Like 99% of lists in the books and stuff that you could legitimately do probably already exist in the game.
I'm not so sure. Do people agree? Let us know in the comments. But I would just hope, if it's like 2 years into the new edition and they're still only releasing these journey books, which cater to one side of the community much more than the other, I don't think that's a very good thing for the health of the game. I think they should go back to doing supplements which have something in it for everyone. I don't think that's an outlandish thing to say. I think that's the way that they should be doing their releases, personally. I think that's a good thing.
They can do both, but also there's the extra complication of the upcoming films.
The what, sorry? The films. Yes. So, yes, another film announced as well. Yes.
Yeah, so they may have I feel like the Middle-earth team's probably not in control of its own destiny.
They're in a bit of a blender. Who knows?
But there is a rules writer working for Middle-earth.
Who is this rules writer? We have no idea.
I'm not going to actually out them because I don't know if they want to be outed. But
so Ali does know the rules writer. This is news to me. I'll be sure to leak it on our Instagram, folks. So go and follow the Instagram.
Yeah, but there's someone who's already been works for Games Workshop and writes rules for other systems.
That's good. Someone wrote the FAQ and did a pretty good job of it, I think, as well. Yeah. So there's someone out there. Unless that was Joe.
I can tell you who wrote the FAQ as well.
Who wrote the FAQ?
So it was
Ali
majority.
King?
No, the majority was outgoing rules writer Jay.
Okay.
And then it was sort of with a little bit added on or stuff by the new rules writer. So
the training wheels were sort of coming off slowly. Okay,
I think it's more before Jay moved roles.
Yeah, there was a handover. There was like 2 weeks training. Right, this is how you write an FAQ.
But, I mean, he'd already written a lot of the FAQ.
Yeah,
and then I think that's the thing we probably forget is they don't actually write the FAQ just in the 5 days before.
No, they don't. No,
it's being compiled.
There's work that goes into it. Yeah, for sure.
So we do have a rules writer. So the fear where people thought was that means that as compared to players, we're not actually getting anything because they don't even it was a seamless, straight transition. So
which is good.
Jay left, the new
but they're not. Well, they're not having to spend much time actually writing new rules, apparently, because we're not getting any in these new fucking books. Anyway, let us know your views on things. yeah, those are my thoughts. Let us know what you think on the releases moving forward. But anyway, we shall move on to the upcoming events for next month, where we have 2 GBHL 100s next month. The Battle for Green Hollow, which is in Scotland, I believe. I'm actually remembering lots of these events now because this is... we're sort of looping round to last year, which is Scotland, 700 points, 6 games. I think it's good for Evil as well. And then we have Contest of Champions as well, which I shall be going to in Swindon. Quite a lot of the team will be there as well. One of the scenarios is Contest of Champions, obviously. It's also at 650 points. So that's 3 GBHL 100s in 3 months back to back to back, which are between 625 and 650 points. Interesting. Okay. 6 games. And Ali has wrote a Black Gate list for us, which if he was attending, he may take Ali King.
Oh, that
was my handover.
Yeah. It sounded like you were going to say one more word. But yeah. So things to note about Contest of Champions is you end up playing Contest of Champions.
I did literally just say that. Are you blacking out?
No,
Or are you trolling me? I literally just said Contest of Champions. Okay. Unless I didn't, and I'm thinking I did, but I'm pretty sure I did. The viewers will let us know. I thought you did
because you said the event name.
No, I did.
Put out, or I've done the opposite way.
Now we're doing fucking hell. We're on it today.
This is good quality.
This
content.
is great.
But yeah. Blackgate's a list which I think people have dabbled in, but not like fully looked at and taken.
I really want a Troll Chieftain, I must say. I've always wanted one.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty good. It's not a top tier list, but I'll just go through it quickly. So you've got the beefed up Troll Chief, so the one which gets +1 might, will, and fate, and also gets fearless, which makes him a pretty scary pet. Like normal Troll Chiefs are fairly solid anyway. As soon as you've got a 3 might one, it's even
Fight 8 with strike.
Yeah, strike. They've got 4 wounds. They're obviously a monster at strength 7, and he can scare quite a lot of people. He doesn't get knocked down and stuff like that, but in an event where there's going to be lots of big heroes running around, when you can naturally one-up the majority of them on fight value, is really solid. And him being fearless is actually low-key really good. General's not going to run away, and also historically one of the issues with trolls sometimes is they'll fail that courage check at an important point.
Yes.
Then Malthus Sauron next up. He's much like he is last edition, so he's a
horse
solid
now.
Semi like caster. I haven't put him on the armored horse because for 25 points I don't think it's...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't seen anyone take him on horse now this edition, which is a shame because I actually quite like the horse model. I think it's pretty cool. I have it. I won't be using it.
One of the cool things, so he's got like transfix, which, especially when you combine it with the way now Heroic Channel works, it means that on the turn when, like, say your troll does get to the enemy hero, which you can do through barging or other like shenanigans if you want, you can just go transfix that big scary hero, and then it really actually combines quite well to take them out. He's also got cool new little rule, which is models within 6 inches of him can't reroll ones as part of the dual roll.
Very niche.
Which it actually will probably come up more often than you think.
Surely not. I think you're looking on the bright side there.
If you think how many, because it's a 6-inch bubble, remember?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Not being able to reroll that one, like at least.
But if you have more than if you have 2 dice in a fight and you roll a 1, well then you just re-roll the other one. Oh, but that would be your higher number. So if you're like on a tie, for example, you wouldn't want to re-roll that. You'd re-roll the 1. Sure. But if you've lost anyway, then you just re-roll the other one. So if anything, it might be even less.
Well, I think it's more because people think like you, and it's probably going to come more up than you would think. But anyway, like it's a cool little thing. He's also got Harbinger, which is actually quite handy when you've got...
That's new this edition, actually. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, which
it's
is
only a
nice.
6-inch Harbinger, but again,
nice
it should be big enough for what you need. And then personally opted for the man or captain. Most people, it's a toss up between the captain, the taskmaster, or a shaman,
Yeah.
depending what you want.
Yeah.
I personally like the captain just because he's not bad in combat. He's
Yeah.
strength 5, he's the D6.
Yeah. And then it's just Moran and spam everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Rannans, I think, currently in the way the meta is, because there's a lot of strength 3 around. So usurpers, minister, and a lot of men, basically. So they go up by, which means that you do match the usurpers and you do match the minister. Like
but you're strength 4 D6 as opposed to
So they're wounding you on 6s back, and then you're wounding them on 4s or 5s, depending on what armies you play.
Yeah.
You can still get caught out, obviously. You play dwarves, is always a terrible sort of matchup for Rannans, because
not many dwarves around at the moment, though. Obviously Khazad-dûm, but not that many.
And like at these points, I don't think that would be super strong. But
no.
So then bringing it all together, 39 models is pretty good at 650.
Yeah.
And it should hopefully mean that you get a few opportunities when you do outnumber people in combat to get the +1 to wound with your Rannans again. So, it's resilient. Nice. It hits fairly hard.
It's got a big scary troll.
And it's got some magical support. And also the Temptational Sauron, which is kind of like quite nice as a little free spec.
It's an okay little sprinkle. Yeah. It's nice. This is the kind of list that I would like to maybe have on the channel for a bat rep, something like this, with a big scary troll. Although, unlike the last time we had a troll on the channel, don't face it into magic, because then the troll might not actually do much.
I thought you were going to say last time we had a troll on the channel, its name was Vince Wong.
Vince Wong was in that bat rep. He was the one using the magic on the troll. Yes. Maybe at some point. That would be very good to see. But yes, Ali's the Blackgate list won't be at the tournament, Ali, unfortunately.
Probably not.
Probably not. No Blackgate on the podium. That's a shame. Anyway.
I like that you assume that no one else can podium with Blackgate.
Well, we don't know that anyone else is taking it, but obviously if you were going, we've seen your list that you will be taking, so you can't take a different list now. This is locked in. Anyway, we shall move on to our final segment, the one profile, where we will be taking a look at a particular profile of interest. And this month, we're going to be looking at the Shade, which I thought was quite an interesting profile. Obviously, last edition, it was very different and they reworked it quite heavily. I haven't actually seen anyone use one yet. I think it's partially because it's just like quite low down the pecking order of like other choices in the lists that you can take the Shade in. But I don't think it's a bad profile. Can you only take it in the Shadows of Angmar, or can you take it in Host of the Witch King, maybe? I think you take it in Host, because the whole point... Oh, maybe you can't take it in Shadows, because the whole point is that it has...
You can take it in Shadows and Host.
See, but it has certain rules here which are for casting with Wraiths. Or is it just for casting in general? What does it say? Ring Wraith, so in Shadows, like that doesn't actually... Anyway, the Shade, so the new profile, it's 75 points. I think the stat line has changed somewhat as well. Wasn't it like 8 will or something last edition as well? I can't remember what else has changed. Do you remember?
No, I think it was only 3 will last edition.
Oh, it's 3 will. Okay, anyway. It's Fight 1. It's a 6-up shoot value.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it was 8 will, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He's throwing me off.
I'm thinking 2 editions ago.
6-up shoot value. Strength 1, D8, 2 attacks, 3 wounds. And wasn't it like more wounds, or was it only 1 wound? I'm getting really confused. Courage 5, Intelligence 8, 0 might, 4 will, and 1 fate. It's a spirit. It's from Angmar. It's a hero. It's on a 40 mil base, which it was last edition as well, so they didn't change that. It has Blaze of the Dead, which we all know. Dominant 3 as well, which is quite a nice little tack on there. Spectral Walk, which I think it had last edition, and Terror as well, which it had as well. But the rules are really where things have changed. So last edition, for anyone who didn't know, it was a 6-inch bubble, Ali. Can you refresh me on this? You spend a point of will at the start of the fight phase, and everyone's -1 on their dual roll.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yes. So
That's
last
correct.
edition. So it could be pretty oppressive in the Angmar list. it wasn't winning like loads of tournaments or anything, but like when you would play against it with some matchups, with the Terror as well, it was just like not the best play experience, I don't think. Go on.
It was winning a lot of events.
Was
just
it?
kept
Okay, I don't
winning
remember.
to a certain.
Okay.
So first it was getting used to Impossible Alliances. It got nerfed a bit, then it got nerfed some more, and then
Okay.
eventually it ended up in more or less what it is
Or
today.
pre-nerf. Yeah, fine. Pre-nerf, it was obviously doing much better. But yeah, the rules are where they've really changed things. So we have the Conduit of Angmar. So if a Ring Wraith model is within 6 inches of a friendly shade, they may use the shade to determine range and line of sight for a magical power. So obviously in the Shadows of Angmar, there's no Ring Wraith, so you can't actually use that rule. Also, after making a casting roll within 6 inches of a friendly shade, a Ring Wraith can choose to deal a single wound to the shade to add 1 to the casting roll. I think that's pretty cool. We have Swirling Mist as well. At the start of the shoot phase, before the heroic action step, a shade may spend a will point to use this ability. If it does, for the remainder of the turn, enemy models within will suffer a -1 penalty to hit when making a shooting attack that targets a friendly model within 6 inches of the shade. If the enemy model making the shoot attack is also within 12 inches of the shade, they will suffer a -2 penalty to the hit. That's pretty cool as well. Finally, we have Ghostly Resolve. Friendly Angmar models within 12 inches of 1 or more models with this special rule gain +1 courage to tests that they take. So those are all new rules, which obviously they took away the one for the -1 dual roll. Was there any other rule that it had last edition that I'm forgetting?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that was just it, yeah. So they've taken it away from being something that sits there. It does buff your army, I guess, but it was more that it was like nerfing your opponents rolling and their army, which I guess is sort of what Angmar like sort of does with the Terror and everything. Like it's making it worse for you. So I don't not like that sort of style of model. But now they've tried to make it more about like things that you can do with the shade, like with the Conduit thing where you have the Ring Wraith. I think sort of using other models as a line of sight is something that they've done more this edition, like with Saruman, with the Grabane, which that list probably shouldn't have it. But I think this is quite a new sort of rule that they've implemented. It's a shame that we're not really seeing the shade that much, so we're not really actually seeing it in play, but I think it's really cool. I guess starting with this one, what do you think on that rule?
I think the shade's cool. I think actually it's one of the. It is probably rightly pointed and right in its usefulness that people will consider taking it, but it's not a definite take, and you've not made a mistake by taking it. It does like a pseudo like thing, so it does protects you from shooting, which is quite useful for Angmar. It does +1 courage, which is quite useful for Angmar because it doesn't have the Fury Shaman. And then obviously it helps out your ring race as well. So if you break it down, each one of those is possibly worth somewhere between 20 and 40 points. And then it's just because you're buying all of them in one go, it doesn't always fit into every list. I think if you're going up to 800 points in a Angmar list, for me personally, I would be taking the shade. Like most of the time. Because I think it just gives you quite a nice, well-rounded profile, and
yeah, it adds a lot.
Yeah, it being a spirit hero model as well means that you get the Terror bubble and things like that, which is helpful. But yeah, no, I think it's a solid model.
It's just there are lots of other choices. Like you have the Shadow of Ruidar, you've got the Barrow Whites, you're taking a captain for March. There's just quite a lot of other things you'd probably want to include as well. So it's hard to always fit in everything.
I think it loses out for most people compared to the Shadow Ruler. I think that's where its competition is usually. Because if you go, say it's hosted a Witch King, you've got the Witch King obviously. You're like, Shadow of Ruidar, I probably want a secondary caster or a Barrow White. So you go for one of those two, or maybe both. And then it's the kind of thing going I may need March in the list. So it's a victim of where people's priorities tend to be.
And you got the Barrow Whites, it's like they're a pretty common auto take in lots of lists. I think the shooting thing is quite interesting because obviously, I guess, Angmar last edition, like it could kind of get shot off the board in some scenarios. So like they've put in something there to the faction overall to sort of try and help with that. But I guess now with the new scenarios, like obviously at the start of the edition, shooting was like, reigning over everything. But now shooting isn't playing as big a factor. So maybe that's less valuable now. But obviously to the list, it is still valuable.
I still think it's really good. I think this is why it's more useful in Host of the Witch King, because they have no shoot protection in that list, whereas in Shadows of the Vanguard,
oh yes, of course they all have
yeah.
And you've got the Wraith in Host of the Witch King where you don't in Shadows. So why is it in Shadows then? Because it's a spirit, I guess it has to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think you're using it in the Shadows most likely, but in a Host of the Witch King, definitely can see that.
Yeah. And also the courage as well. Like if you were to face Terror as a Angmar player, like that would be really, really bad because they'd have a Wraith as well. So you're like, courage 1, but now having that +1 is like super, super good if you're facing Terror.
Yeah.
So, I think it's an interesting one to talk about because like it was doing super, super well last edition. And now it's been completely reworked. There weren't many profiles that had quite such a rework than the Shade. I like the model as well. Didn't they re-release it, I think, with the Angmar supplement? I forget the name of that.
Possibly.
Was it Rise of Angmar? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did a made-for-order release of it. If not.
Yes, yeah, they did something with it. And just now, I haven't seen one yet. Have you seen one? I haven't seen one.
No, I don't know.
Use it yet.
I know chatting to people, they've considered using it.
Yeah,
I think it's just hard to get out of the I'm going to have 2 Barrow Whites kind of mindset.
Yeah, maybe Barrow Whites need to be nerfed somewhat in order for something like this to be a little bit more appealing. I don't know, but
it depends. I think it's just people are comfortable using the double Barrow Whites.
Yeah, and it is just so good.
Like just kind of like people know it works, and so it's like.
And I guess like that's almost like guaranteed value to a certain extent. Like you're probably going to have something that you would want to cast on with 2 Barrow Whites, where if you're playing a list that like doesn't have much shooting, it's almost like a third of these rules that you're paying for just aren't really doing anything. So I mean,
I could say the same thing about Barrow Whites.
You could, fine, if you play something where that's why I said you're
the second Barrow White is like
I see,
you don't actually need it half the time.
But you're quite likely to play a list that has something that you want to shut down, right? Unless it's like a horde list or something. But anyway, the Shade. Okay, that's the one profile, and that's going to round us out for this installment of MESBG Monthly. Let us know what you think about the releases with the books. What are your thoughts on the content plan moving forward for the game? Let us know. But it's going to close us out. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching another episode of MESBG Monthly here from the Gollum's Gamers.